Good evening, everyone. This is Mustafa Talks Tech, your digital marketing specialist and tech evangelist, coming at you again with another episode on the Mustafa Talks Tech show. As it has been for the past couple of weeks, we are bringing on a very special guest. I looked at my schedule, and when I was setting up my schedule for this month, I was trying to come up with my list of people that I would bring on the show. And it was so many amazing brothers and sisters that are in tech, and I was trying to curate the list down to four people, one person a week. And as I looked at the list, I was like, there's no way I can cut anybody off for nobody else. And so I kept going through the list. I like, well, I can't cut this person. I'm not gonna cut this person. This person got too much value. I said they're all valuable. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to try to go with everybody I can to get on the show in the month of November. So in the past 7 days, this is my third interview of interviewing amazing people. And it's so amazing that I didn't set it up that way. But my first three guests for this month have been all accomplished, amazing Black women who have their own unique contributions in tech and professionalism. So that's amazing for me to put a spotlight on amazing Black women who may not get all the shine that they deserve in this world. So with that said, I have another amazing guest tonight on the Mustafa Talks Tech show. She is Dr. Cheryl Cooper. Let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Cheryl Cooper. My homework on this one because she's so accomplished. I didn't want to make no mistakes because I'm dealing with the doctor. But Dr. Cheryl Cooper is a cybersecurity expert. She holds a doctorate of computer science, information assurance, information system security from Colorado Technical University. She is an author. She is a public speaker. She has worked for some of the top tech companies out there. So, with that said, we are very excited. I am very honored to have Dr. Cheryl Cooper on the Mustafa Talks Tech show. Let's bring her on. Hello, Dr. Cheryl Cooper. How are you?
Hello, Mustafa. I am honored and really humbled to be here today. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be on your show and share my story and share my perspectives.
Absolutely. I saw that you in September you were at the Blacks in Technology conference and you were a speaker there. If you will, just tell me about that experience of speaking at Blacks in Technology and why it is so important that we have something for ourselves where we can speak among ourselves and speak to the tech issues.
I thought that it was important for African Americans, Blacks, to have their own conference in this space because oftentimes, if we are combined with other conferences, we lose our visibility. We just become another body and no one sees us and hears us. And usually we are not speaking and we are not on the stage. As you mentioned before, this month or your last few talks have been with accomplished women, but when we go to these other conferences, you would probably never see those women, those Black and those brown women on the stage. So it gives us a place to shine, but it also, this conference provided the atmosphere, the culture, the way we can and the way that we like to celebrate as Blacks and African Americans. There was so much camaraderie, so much networking. And I'm in cybersecurity, and there were other people that were there that wanted to get in, and they were just see my perspective about, well, Dr. Cooper, where do you think I should start? That kind of relationship is often not found at these other conferences. So we need to have our own.
Absolutely. And it was my every intention to be at the conference in Nashville. I have a lot of family in Nashville, so it was going to be like a family reunion and going. But as life often happens, I was not able to go this year, but it's all my plans to go next year. I think it's in Atlanta. So hope
Absolutely. Yes.
so hopefully we will bump into each other at the Blacks in Technology in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
We can further build and share information and grow. So I'm just very happy that we have something like Blacks in Technology. Because my story is I only transitioned into tech about a year ago. I kind of got the bit with the bug.
Mhm.
And so, as you said, I wanted to see people that look like me in tech. So I got on
Mhm.
LinkedIn and I found out about Blacks in Technology and was just looking for the comfort of knowing that I'm not alone in doing this. And there's other people like me doing this. And of course, I bumped into you on LinkedIn, and that was just another piece of the puzzle. And it just gave me so much comfort to know that I can lean back and I got so many brothers and sisters that are
I think we froze,
so, if you will.
but we're good
Okay.
now.
Yeah, we did. Okay. So, for the audience who may not be familiar with us, if you will, tell us about your career background, your educational background, and of all the things you could choose, what made you choose tech and what made you choose to go into cybersecurity?
My first introduction into technology was as a teenager. I decided to join the military. I grew up in the heart and in the hood of Kansas City. Some may call it the projects, where in that environment, drugs, crime, um, and where one could fall prey to that lifestyle very easily. And so that drug life became a part of my life for
Mm,
some time. But there was this intuitive knowingness inside of me, even I was among the streets. I knew I was better than the streets. I knew I had more to offer, but I also knew if I didn't do something, I would
mhm.
probably wind up dead in that
Come on.
environment. And so I enlisted in the military. And my father told me, he said, Cheryl, make sure that when you go in, you get into a field that once you get out, you can use that experience in the
Right.
civilian. My father was in the military, he was in the army, and he learned how to kill. And so when he got out, there was no jobs.
Gotcha.
But when I went in and when my recruiter told me about it was a telecommunications position in which I was troubleshooting telecom systems, changing out cryptographic keys. And I said, I want that job. Even at a very young age,
Mhm.
I knew that technology was the way to go. And I knew it was going to take us much further. So I
Yeah.
wanted to go into technology. I did 8 years in the Navy. And when I
Mhm.
decided to get out, I was in demand. I
Mm.
didn't have any problems getting a job, at least entry level, at least an entry
Right.
job. And at that time, companies, when they were communicating B2B, business to
Yeah.
business.
Mhm.
It wasn't a lot with communicating with the consumer through technology. It wasn't until the late 1990s, early 2000s that people started to get this cell phone. And as we get these cell phones, yes, then they are hooked on to that internet. When the internet exploded, and now that we have all of this technology, such
Yeah.
as the cell phone, the smartphone, the TV, refrigerators, dishwashers, washing
Yeah.
machines, TV monitors, TVs, all connected to the internet, this introduces more risk. And this is where it has exploded with
Mhm.
people needed to fill these cybersecurity jobs. So when I first got out of the military, I went into technology, troubleshooting systems for a Fortune 100 telecom company. But then once there was more risk introduced, and these jobs open up in cybersecurity, I already knew where all the holes were. So I applied, I got the job, and I hit the ground running because I already knew what to do. Um, but but here's something. If I could go ahead and share this with you, when I went into technology and then into cybersecurity, we did not see a lot of people who looked like us. There were not a lot
Yeah,
of black and brown people. And even to today, when we look at minorities, the Asian, yeah, African Americans, Blacks, Hispanics, Latinas, Native Americans, Native Indians, all represented under 10%. The white male makes up 66% of the cybersecurity profession. So I heard you mentioned, you said, hey, I wanted to go to this conference to see if there were others that were doing what I'm trying to do so that we can network and unite. And
absolutely.
so that's what took me on this journey of being in cybersecurity. But here's one of my challenges that I had, and that was even though I was very accomplished uh,
Hmm.
with a lot of credentials, I was not getting promoted at the same rate as the white male. And I'm going to say this has been a woman's issue. Even when we
Okay.
look at black male, the woman is not promoted at the same rate as the male, and even more dire than the white male. So it's real for the woman that her career growth is stunted at the entry level manager. She is not getting promoted up. Get into the higher layers of the organization, such as CEO, CSO, CISO level, you don't see the woman because there's not a talent pool, and definitely not a huge talent pool of black and brown women. And so that goes back to another reason why we need these conferences for black and brown people
Come
so
on.
that we can network.
Yeah, yes. One and that was one of the reasons why I really developed the whole Mustafa Talks Tech as a platform. Um, my intro to tech, I just thought I wanted to get a digital marketing cert and transfer into digital marketing and then later software engineering. And I thought it was just going to be about me. And then once I started reading the statistics that only 6 or 7% of Black people are in tech, and about 2% of us are in management or leadership, it on something in me that I don't want to enter this field and just be satisfied if I get a good job and I know this knowledge and I'm moving forward. But it gave me a mission to say that if only 6 or 7% of us are in this, that means 93 or 94% of us are not in this. If 2% of
Absolutely.
us are leadership, then that means about 98% of us are not leadership, and other people outside of our community are leading the. And you know as well as I that tech is growing and it's going to dominate the future, whether we're talking about AI or VR, cybersecurity, so many different disciplines. So Mustafa Talks Tech was born out of a need to educate people that look like us to know about tech, know about opportunities in tech, and to be a resource where I can bring on people like yourself who can share the benefit, give us the benefit of your expertise so that we can learn from you and learn from others who are giants to me in this field of tech. You're my superstars. You're my rock stars when I look in this tech field. So that's what it's all about for me here. So that you kind of led right into a question that I wanted to ask, because when I was transitioning into tech, it was presented to me that there was not much racism in tech, there's not much bias in tech. Everybody's cool, everybody's evolved beyond that. We're all sophisticated on a higher level because we're building the next tech innovation. We don't have time for those old relics of the past, and that it's just everybody's cool. But some people have some different perspectives about that reality going on in the tech field. Is there anything you would like to add to that?
Well, there's whether it's conscious or conscious bias or implicit or explicit bias, it does exist. I saw it in the military, but nothing prepared me for what I would see in corporate America with racism and bias. And we see that the statistics are telling us the story, right? We're not feeling this from the gut because the statistics show us that Black and Brown people are underrepresented. So they're not getting promoted at the same rate. They are not given those jobs in tech and cybersecurity that will allow them to shine and show their value. So when those promotions come up, they have not been given the opportunity to show what they can do because those go to whites. And even we had what's the word? Oh, equal opportunity. When we said, okay, we are severely underrepresented with women in technology and cybersecurity, corporate America promoted the white woman.
Mm.
There were very few promotions of the Black woman. So when they shared the numbers, they're saying we've got, let's say 60%, or let's say 58% men, and then we've got 48% of women. But they don't break that down in a granular sense, not like
Mhm.
you know what are the ethnicities that make up that group. So
Come
a
on.
lot of companies are misrepresenting themselves that they value diversity, but they were hiring more white women and they were promoting more white women, and the Black woman was being left behind. And that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of, well, there's a few reasons why you don't see the Black woman.
Go
One,
ahead.
one, one,
Come on, sis.
if when you do hire her, they're not doing what they need to do to keep her.
Mm.
Such as those promotions. If I'm not getting promoted, if I'm not feeling valued, I'm going to lead. And what we're often seeing with the Black woman, she will change careers.
Mm.
What we're also seeing is with the promotions in corporate America, number two, is that they're not recruiting. They're saying, I would hire a Black woman, but she's not applying. I don't have any applying. But you know what? They're not recruiting where the Black woman is. Now, this is not all companies. They've changed this somewhat since the murder of George, right? With all the tension on
Yeah.
DE&I, now they're recruiting through the HBCUs. But prior to George Floyd, a lot of that recruitment was not going on where the Black institutions are or where the Black people resided. And we're even seeing that today in these Fortune 100 and Fortune 50 companies that I work for. I went up to the CEO and executive level and said, we're not going to close this race gap unless we go younger.
Mm.
And we've got to go into the places where those Black children are. We've got to go into those schools that are predominantly Black, those schools that have over 30, 40% of their students who are on government free lunch. See, those are the people that we need to get those jobs to. But corporate America is intentionally not recruiting in those areas. Now, I have seen, and there's some companies out there, I'm not going to name them here, but big tech companies in the last 1 or 2 years that have created for the cybersecurity industry high school internship programs starting at the junior level in predominantly Black schools. When I say Black, usually there's a large percentage of Black and Brown, so that includes Hispanics
Yeah.
and as well. And this is their initiative to try to close that gap. but but you know what? Unless you set them up for success, you cannot just hire them for an internship program. They have got to be mentored. And that's another reason why these conferences, such as Blacks in Technology, Afro Tech, are needed so that we can
Yes.
mentor our next generation of technology professionals and cybersecurity professionals. Because oftentimes, when we get into corporate America, there is no sense of three. What's the other problem? No sense of belonging. We
Mm,
don't feel that we're included. That inclusivity, that belongingness. So there's just still a lot to do in this space of diversity, inclusion, and feeling like I belong there. That's the reason why, Mustafa, it's good for you what you're doing here, so that others can see we are here and we are doing things, so that when they see you and when they see me, they can see themselves in the world.
there you go. You opened up another question that I wanted to ask, and just going into my background. When I was growing up, I thought going to school and getting good grades and following the rules, I thought all of that was acting white. So I thought that being ignorant and talking slang, I thought that was cool. And I say that to say that part of mine is when people think of tech, you may think of somebody with some nerdy glasses or somebody who's not cool. But I'm seeing in organizations like Blacks in Technology or Afrotech that it's disputing that image that you can actually be cool and in tech. And I think that that image, once it's promoted more to our young people, that you can see that you don't have to be nerdy, quote unquote. You can be
Mhm.
cool. You can still have your swag, if you will. You can make a lot of money in tech. And I think a lot of youth will gravitate more to tech once they see that those three things that, I don't have to give up my individuality. I can make money and I can still be myself. I can be me in tech.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about that as far as making tech interesting to these young high school or middle schoolers that it becomes an attractive option down the line?
You brought up a good point. Is that they have to see it. They have to see the cool guy, right? The cool guy, and he's making all this money and driving a car. He's excelling, but he's able to do that and be his authentic self. We have to show them, in order for you to succeed, don't come into corporate America trying to adjust to standards so they
Yeah.
accept you, because you will never excel trying to be someone else. You have to be the authentic you. And so,
Yeah.
what I also did with this internship that I proposed to the company, and actually has been approved and launched and implemented, is that a part of that, what we've got to do, we have got to bring these students into our workplace so that we can introduce them to the various jobs. Oftentimes, the individual will think cybersecurity is coding, and there are 10, 20 different kind of jobs that fall under cybersecurity that's not real technical, such as GRC, governance,
Mhm.
regulatory, and compliance.
Mm.
Doing auditing. And so here's what we did in Kansas City, the company. I went to the inner city and brought in 110 girls.
Come on.
110 girls. I'm speaking. Other Black women are speaking. We even had some guys to get up there and speak. We fed them, let them just have fun for the day. It wasn't you sit here, and we walked up to them and we talked. And so I did first in Kansas City, and the executives were happy, and they said, can you come up here in Seattle? There was a corporate office there, and they said, can you do it here as well? Well, one of the schools, this is after COVID, and we're using the same buses to get the kids to school for field trips. They didn't have the bus to get the students to corporate offices. So they said, can you get us a bus? I said, yeah, give me a quote. And we ordered them a bus, yes, for 50 students. For
Okay.
50 students, bathroom in the back, a plush
Yes.
chairs. I mean, these kids were just having a ball. We treated these girls, we treated these. I'm trying to use the best verbiage. We pulled out all the stops. Let me say this: there was
Okay.
nothing. We did not hold back because of the color of their skin or because they were a girl. We pulled out all stops. We had in Seattle 150 plus girls. We gave them all swag bags, swag bags with ink pens and water bottles and journals, and we gave out gift cards, and we just had a great time. And they were saying, "When can we come back?" Okay, I'm tired. That's not my first job, right? But I, being a black woman myself, said if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to make time. Sometimes we have to be the change that we want to see.
Correct.
Yes. So Dallas said, Dr. Cooper, come down and do this for us. I'm trying to catch up with my work. But I did. In February of this year, Black History Month, went
Hmm.
there, same thing. We had to turn away students, as you may know, that Dallas area, the Hispanic population is large, but I targeted those underrepresented students, and I had to turn down schools. We just didn't have the space. But it
Wow.
let me know, it let others know that schools won't see. We have to bring them in so that they can see everybody that's working, how they're dressing. People coming to work with jeans on and tennis shoes.
Yep.
Because that corporate attire, most companies today have gone to a 5-day week of jeans. And so
Hmm.
one of the little girls in Dallas, she came up to me and she said, does XYZ company hire people with disabilities? And she pulled up her pant leg, and before I could get my answer out, um, I'm like, girl, yes. I said, we do hire people based on a disability. We hire them based on what they can contribute. They're mine. And one of my other coworkers came up behind me and she said, yeah. And we were like, girl, you better come on over here and work with us. And she smiled. But I think she was probably a 10th grader. And probably she was going through life putting limits on her capabilities to rise. But when talking to us, she knew we are going to accept you for who you are. And she let that limit go. And then I would see her later in the day and she's talking to friends and laughing and talking. So
Yeah.
when we look at our people, we have we have got to unite on these initiatives. As I was saying before, mentor, celebrate, and lift up. Otherwise, we're not going to make it because nobody else is going to help us.
Absolutely. Man, that put a smile on my face and joy in my heart to hear the mission that you've taken upon yourself to inspire these young girls that they may see a Dr. Cheryl Cooper within themselves, to see that I can be that and I can still be my authentic self. That's the point I was trying to get to, because next year, that's something that I would like to do. Maybe start going to some of these high schools here locally where I'm at in Florida, and the middle schools, and start while they're young and let them see me and hear my story and tell them about these opportunities in tech, just like what you're saying, and let them know that this is another avenue of that you can go into, and it's going to be the future. It's going to be lucrative, and you can just do some amazing things in tech. So definitely salute to you for doing that for our girls and doing that for the people from our community who are undeserved, who may not get that opportunity otherwise.
Absolutely. And if I can add as well, in us coming together and doing that mentorship, we can also help with building soft skills for that next generation. Just was it this week or last week? I spoke with a young lady just getting into cybersecurity, and she asked me, how do I deal with men in the workplace? And I told her that it was an issue. Oftentimes we're hired to do the job. We're asked to come to the table, but we're not asked for our voice. Just sit there. Just sit there. I was in that situation, and I shared a story with her, in which I sit on a technology advisory council for one of the big cybersecurity conferences that goes all over the United States. And we're at dinner. First, we're going to talk about the issues and then have dinner later. As I'm sitting at the table, well, let me say first, I was the only Black person there. Only Black, whether it was a male or a woman, I was the only Black person there. And at my table, there was another woman there that was from India, and then the others were white men. And I started to talk. The guy cut me off. I let him talk, and then they all started talking among themselves. I looked over, I looked at her, and I looked back, and I said, well, they've got to come up for air at some point. And they did, and they did. And then I chimed in. I said, let me start off first with saying, I was talking, and you interrupted me. I was invited to this event, to this forum, because I have something to say. I have a perspective, and I'm going to use my voice. And the topic, what were we talking about? DE&I. DE&I, and you don't want to hear from two minority women? And so they sat there, but you see, this was in my wheelhouse, Mustafa. This was in my wheelhouse. And I started dropping stats because, see, this is where I play. I dropped stats. I told them these are the issues. Here's what companies aren't doing. Here's what they need to do. And they sat there silent. So what did I tell her? How do you handle it? You have got to find your voice. And that's what we need to do also with our young girls. And maybe you could share, Mustafa, with the men, but often what we find with the woman, she has not found her voice. When I mean her voice is to be confident, she will doubt herself and not say anything because she's not confident. And so she's got to find her voice and be able to speak up. Now, how was I able to check these men like I did? Because I was knowledgeable of the topic. So when you sit at that table, you have got to be prepared when you open your mouth, because they will have you for lunch. Yes. So use your voice. Be prepared, I told her. Be confident. Don't pull back, but have a perspective. I always tell individuals, don't just have a voice. Have a perspective so that people can find you.
Come on. Yes. And that's why I said it was so. Okay, there we go. I thought I had lost you. But it was so amazing that I've had 3 amazing Black women, including yourself, this month, because in October, I had 3 amazing brothers who were the guests. And like you said, that you have to speak for the women because you are a woman. And there's only so far I can go in my empathy and understanding because I just never been a woman or experienced certain things. So by me bringing you on and other sisters, it allows you to speak to that young woman in a way that I couldn't speak to her and able to speak into the core of her issues and like, ah, she gets it. I relate to her. So thank you for just relating to the young women out
But
there.
I'd also like to share with the listeners, I wasn't always that way. Earlier in my career, I had not grown in my knowledge. And so I was that woman who sat there because and I didn't even open my mouth because I lacked the confidence in trusting myself in what I was
Mhm.
going to say. If I was questioned, could I debate it and back it up? So I remained silent, but not anymore.
I think we may have had a tech hiccup. In 1 second.
I used to-
I think we had a tech hiccup. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, okay. You were speaking and it kind of cut you out. So if you'll continue that, I didn't want nobody to miss anything you were saying.
One of the other things that I wanted to add, whether you're in cybersecurity or if you decide to pursue a career in technology, one of the things that you must do to be successful, and that is to be a life learner. Always learning, learning, and learning. As you said that, I've got my bachelor's degree, I've got my MBA, um, master's of business administration. I have a master's in criminal justice, and then I've got a doctorate degree in computer science. And then I have a host of cybersecurity certifications. In order to compete, you have got to continue to take certifications, go back to school, maybe take a course, go to some webinars, go to conferences, because technology is constantly evolving. And when we look at the cybersecurity industry, some of the biggest breaches that have occurred this year, and maybe some of these people have heard about those, MGM Grand Casino, Las Vegas, Caesar
Mm.
Palace Casino, Las Vegas. They were hacked. They fell victim to a ransomware, what we call a ransomware attack, in which
Mhm.
it took these hotels down, not just the hotel, but the slot machines as well. And when you have companies that are making $10 million a day, I didn't say $10 million a year,
A
$10
day.
million a day, and they
Wow.
cannot counter a ransomware attack. That's where we come in, and we have to find these solutions because these bad guys, these criminals, are smart. This is what they're doing, and they're sitting back and studying every day on how to
Yeah.
build these systems and to steal your money and steal your personal information. So when we look at cybersecurity, that job is recession proof.
Come on.
That's recession proof. So if you say, well, it may not be enough jobs out there. Today, there are 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs globally, internationally.
Wow.
3.5. And there are 600, or close to 600, 550,000 cybersecurity jobs here in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. And so some of your, so this is the reason why we need to communicate out to these marginalized individuals, underserved individuals, that there are jobs here that you can make six figures.
Come on.
What does six figures translate to? Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Lifestyle. But here's
Yes.
the challenge that we have in this field, is that we need private industry to change. If you go out there and you look at a cybersecurity job, they're asking for 5 to 10 years of experience. They're asking for degrees, all these certifications. You have to know all this programming language. This is another reason why we are not seeing the needle move on that 3.5 million, because they can't find the people with the experience. Slowly, private industry is changing, and they're creating new job titles such as associate cybersecurity, or some companies have finally acknowledged that they are going to have to grow their own. So they're bringing in individuals, training you up, paying for you to go to school, and then they're giving you a career path. But don't let that, prevent you or discourage you from getting into the field. So yes, it is recession proof, and it's very competitive in places like Seattle that has T-Mobile, AT&T, Amazon, Google. What individuals do is they go from one company to the next every year, and they go to the highest bidder. So within 3 or 4 years, they're over $100,000.
Ooh, that's good. Good money there where I come from. You touched on one of the questions that I wanted to ask you about. You may remember about 2 years ago, there was a ransomware situation where an outside entity took over the gas lines in America.
Colonial
And
Pipelines.
and I remember that personally because it was getting scary because I was trying to commute to work, and I was like, if I can't get no gas, I can't go to work. And it was getting scary where day by day it was like, y'all got to pay this off, or y'all got to do something, because everyday people need to commute children or go to grocery stores or go to work. That was like me really seeing how real ransomware is and how cybercrime can really affect everyday people. So if you will, kind of just that leads into just talking about that ransomware and how important cybersecurity and the cyber crimes, because because these guys didn't come over here with guns or bazookas or nothing. They did this from an outside place, but they took over the gas lines in America. So I was like, wow, that's technology at its worst.
And you know what, Mustafa, a lot of times when they are breaching these networks, doing this reconnaissance phase, is that a lot of that is just playing on human tendency, that tendency to trust. When we look at the Colonial Pipeline, the gas line, Colonial Pipeline, when we look at MGM Grand Casino, both of those ransomware attacks occurred through social engineering. And what is social engineering? Trickery, tricking you to give up information based on your natural tendency to trust. Someone will call you impersonating maybe another employee of the company, or maybe a contractor, or they will send you an email such as from Amazon. It won't be from Amazon. It'll look like it's from Amazon.
Yeah.
And these hackers have gotten so good emails, they look legit. You have got to really look close. But once, and then it'll say something like, if you don't do this right now, then your access is going to be taken away. And that's when you click. And when you click, there is malicious software that has been embedded in that email, in which it starts encrypting all your data. They encrypt it, and they put a note on your computer that says, your data has been stolen, you owe a ransom, and we want $2.3 million. Yes. Now, the FBI encourages companies not to pay because they say this promotes that kind of bad behavior. But you would be surprised at the number of companies that do pay that money. Oftentimes, what we see, and we're seeing now, we're talking about the cybersecurity careers, is with critical infrastructure. And we all really got to know about critical infrastructure with COVID, right? Supply chain, getting those trucks.
Yep.
to those grocery stores to deliver that food, water, lights, gas. That's all critical infrastructure. But from a cybersecurity perspective, when Ukraine and Russia went to war and Russia was threatening to attack the United States, critical infrastructure, corporate
Mm-hmm.
America, and me working for telecom. You guys know all the
Yeah.
telecom. Me working for telecom, that was one
Yeah.
of the things that we had a heightened awareness. Had we locked down our network and our resources because Russia was not coming at America with a bomb, they were going to shut down America and demand ransom. And so you had all of the critical infrastructures making sure that that security was tight, providing security awareness to the employees because the employee is our first line of defense with email so that they wouldn't click on a malicious email and then have Russia take possession. So this is where we come in as cybersecurity professionals. And that's not just for the general public. When we look at the military, we're trying to protect all those sensitive and confidential resources.
Mhm. Wow. 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 That is a lot to take in.
It's fun. You know what? That's what I love about my job. It's um, it's always something new to try to figure out. And if I could
Yeah.
share this with your listeners as well, when I was saying it's all not coding. Well, probably half the issues that I work on are all problem solving. So if you're looking to get in this field, assess your soft skills. If you're a good problem solver, for example, we had a router in Russia, and all your large telecommunication wireless carriers, they're all in Russia. But the router was coming to end of life. And so we had a dilemma. Where do we purchase the router? Do we import or do we export? And as we're talking, myself, there's other VPs, but I mean, it's up to that level, VP level,
Yeah.
engineers. Do we import or export? And what we identified, whether we import or export, we had to understand how does that process work? And when we did, we identified it didn't make any difference because we would lose chain of custody whether we imported or exported, and that gave the Russians that opportunity to install some malicious software or spyware, right?
Right.
So we said, well, we know we're going to lose chain of custody. So let's go ahead and assume they're going to install some malicious software. What do we do now? It was a Cisco router. We're going to fly the Cisco people over to Russia, have them take the router down to factory default, clean it. Then we're going to do an image, an operating system, brand new, and put that on the router. But also, Russia only allows, if you want to do business in Russia, you can only use an encryption that has already been broken. So what did it tell us? You're going to monitor everything coming across the line.
Right. Right.
And it was going back and forth. Should we import, export? Should we go with? And then the decision came: should we stay or should we go? Is it just
Mhm.
too much risk to just
Right.
say, let's pull out of Russia? And at the end of the day, that's exactly what the company did. They said, we're not making any money over here anyway.
Mhm.
So they pulled out.
Wow. Wow. We're creeping up on an hour, but I still have a few more questions. Are you good on time?
I'm good on time.
Let's do it then.
Okay.
Okay. With hey, we definitely getting to that. We gonna get to that. We going from the hood to hooded. But I wanted to ask you, if you would speak to two demographics of people. Let's say there's a young person, maybe in middle school or high school, who may hear this now or hear it later, and they're thinking, what is that path to enter into cybersecurity? What if there's an older person maybe 30s, maybe 40s, who may say, hey, you know what? I want a career shift at this later stage in my life. What would be the path for that person? So a younger person, what would be that path? And what would be the path for a later in life career shifter, if you will?
Well, we're talking about two different demographics when we're talking younger. When we look at the suburbs, oftentimes the technology, the cybersecurity career fields are being introduced at the high school level. When we go into the inner city schools, they're not being introduced to those careers. So if we're talking about inner city, is what we have to do is to work back with the Board of Education, the school district, and communicate to them the importance of introducing these programs into the school. And that's what I've seen happen in several schools across the United States. They're starting to implement cybersecurity at the high school level. So my recommendation would be for anyone who is at the high school level is to work back with your administrators on getting those programs implemented. If those programs are hard to get implemented, there is a program called Cyber Patriot.
Okay.
Cyber Patriot. It's an online program and it is hosted and funded by the United States Air Force. And that's to build this next generation. It's only for high school, and you compete with other high schools around the United States. If you are in the top, I think the top 10 or top 20, the Air Force will fly you and your team to Washington, D.C. to compete in person. Yes, you're learning all the things that doing who actually do the job. They're installing firewalls, they're creating complex passwords, and they do this through that program, Cyber Patriots. There is another program called Cyber Corps, I believe. There are now some online programs for you. Yeah, Cyber Corps. And Cyber Corps also has a scholarship service. Here's my motto now. When the demand is high, where it is now for cybersecurity professionals, you do not need to go get a 4-year degree. You can get it later in your career when you're maybe looking to get into management, but entry in, pick up one of these certifications. And my recommendation is CompTIA. And you know what, Mustafa, I'm going to send you this information. Maybe you have an email list and you can send it out. But it would be CompTIA Security Plus. It is, are you familiar with it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, CompTIA Security Plus, the second most in-demand certification being requested by employers. The top certification, you need 5 years to qualify to get it. But so that's what you want to do. You want to start studying for cybersecurity, learning the terms. So you got your book, you're studying, then you feel good enough about it, you're going to sit down and take the certification. The next thing that you want to do is start networking. I don't know anyone in cybersecurity. Join one of every big city. There are some of the same cybersecurity organizations. Join one of those and go to their monthly meetings. So you're learning about what's happening in the industry, and you're networking. You're building your network even at 17, 18 years old. Okay, so you're studying, you're going to get that certification, you're going to join an industry association, start going to some chapter meetings. But these conferences that come through every year, they come through 5 or 6 times. The industry did not let students come to these industry conferences because they are sponsored by the vendors. And vendors are looking for people to come in the profession so they can court them to buy their product.
Mm-hmm.
But they're changing that now. They're doing their part as well to build this next generation. And now they're saying it's okay, but they've realized as well, this is our new customer.
Mm.
Right? That's our new customer. So if they can start seeing my logo and hearing my name now, when they do go somewhere to work, they're going to think about those vendors that they met at that conference. So we're seeing now more the high school student and the college student, traditional college student, coming to these conferences. And the ones here where I'm located, this year, I had them come and I put them on the stage.
Mm.
I'm an advocate. Let's get them ready now. Don't put them out. Because let me tell you something. The youth today, I mean, they are smart. There's things that they know now I didn't even know. But they got
Absolutely.
these college students who were freshmen, sophomore, and they were majoring in some computer science program, and they had
Mm.
something to say. They would cut us off because I was on that. We had the students on one side of the stage, and then we had the professionals on the other side. And when that conference was over, they were like, "Wow, I didn't even know this existed."
Yeah.
And let me tell you, we had a diverse group. It was a woman, it was a black guy, white guy. And then it was Korean, Asian. So we had a very diverse panel, but we're
Mm-hmm.
introducing them now. And that's one of the things I think that we need to do better as a people and as an industry is share knowledge with others. You know, a lot of times we don't
Absolutely.
know what's out there and everybody's out there trying to figure it out on their
Yeah.
own. Okay, so you got the certification, you're going to get the certification, you're going to network, you're going to go to conferences. Um, Something else I was going to say here, the association and the conferences and your networking. Oh, how can I take, now what you want to do is take what you've learned either in a classroom or when you're studying your book. And now, how do I apply these concepts in a real world situation? So here's where you want to probably sign up for get a couple of subscriptions to like InfoSec, Hacker
Mm-hmm.
News, about all the different breaches that have occurred. So when you read that article, you see what happened, but then you can take the knowledge that you learned and say, how could they have prevented that? So go ahead and start this critical thinking. Such
Yes.
as I think it was MGM, and they got in and they got all this restricted personal information, credit card numbers. First thing I said was, okay, the
Mm.
network was breached, but this sensitive data should have been encrypted. Where was the encryption? Because if
Yeah.
the bad guy stole the information, it would have been worthless if it had been encrypted. This means it was not encrypted.
Yeah.
Then my thing I said, what we need to do on our networks, we have to already assume that your password has been stolen. That's the reason
That's
why it's
true.
important that we're rotating those passwords every few months. Because
That
when
is true.
you reach, they probably already have your passwords as what 4 or 5 years ago, 145 million customer accounts were stolen from Equifax, the
Yeah.
Equifax breach. And then we never
Yep.
heard anything. We're like, what are they going to do? They probably already have them. They
Yep.
have them. What we need to do, when I said, well, when they got in, where was the MFA? The multi-factor authentication. So if they used a password, where was the other token, fingerprint, the iris scan to
Mm.
authenticate to that system to get in? So those are how when you're using your critical thinking on how could they have better addressed the risk.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then, okay, so you got the two subscription. The other thing, free webinars. I know people who have learned, not people, it's not a lot of people, but I know a guy who learned how to install an engine in a car from watching YouTube. I believe you can learn anything from YouTube. It's a free source, a lot of good content for cybersecurity on YouTube.
Can I say I'm not a mechanic by profession or ASE certified, but I have learned how to do minor repairs on my car. I literally have the phone propped up. I got my tools in one hand. I'm doing this. I'm rewinding the video. How did he do that? What did he take out? And I've been able to do minor repairs, like you say, just watching YouTube videos. I never went to mechanic school or anything, but I can do some minor routine repairs and save a few bucks in the process. So you're absolutely right.
And I said this before, I'm going to stress it again. Get yourself in a network. I'm a believer when people are, find you a mentor. I've got this all written out somewhere. Find you a mentor. And it doesn't have to be one, because we all come with a certain set of skills, knowledge, and perspectives. Often people hear, find you a mentor, but I've never heard anyone tell me when I was coming up, find me a community of mentors, not just one. So don't pay for anything, not now at least. It's a lot of free resources out there. Also look up Department of Homeland Security. They have a program. They will pay for your cybersecurity degree. And let's say it took you 3 years to complete your cybersecurity degree. The only thing that they ask back is that you come and work for them for 3 years. Who doesn't want to work in Homeland Security and have that on your resume? That's often another one of the challenges in this field. You get the in-classroom experience. Now you get out, you don't have any experience. With this, you get a 4-year degree, you may complete it in 3, right? And then you are guaranteed a job. There's also a cyber course. They have scholarships. Amazon has a scholarship specifically for Black people, $50,000. They give you $10,000 a year to complete your 4-year degree. So you just have to know where the money is.
Absolutely. What do you think, if any, role is of like boot camps, where you hear some of these boot camps coming up where 6 months to a year where they're preparing you for cybersecurity careers with certs? What do you think about that as also an avenue to get into cybersecurity?
That is another alternative. And I know lots of people who have gone through the 6-month boot camp, several universities out there that provide those. And I was a professor at one of the schools that provided the 6-month boot camp. And it had changed so much from the time I started teaching. And when I said change a lot, they're giving the student more hands-on experience. Before, when I started teaching in computer science and cybersecurity, it was a lot of theory. We did some labs, but not at the extent that they're doing today. They are working with all the tools, the cybersecurity tools that are being used by large companies such as Wireshark, Nmap, vulnerability scanning tools. These are the same tools used in corporate America. And oftentimes what this 6-month program will do, they're actually preparing you for those in-demand certifications, such as the CompTIA Security Plus and the CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Administrator. So not just a cybersecurity certification, but also a network certification as well. Yeah, I would be behind that as well. I actually think it's a great program because you get the hands-on experience. You get the hands-on experience. So when you go to look for a job, you already know how to use the tools, but then you have other students there. A lot of times when we're starting something new, we want to bounce it off on someone. And I found most of these students, they have great instructors there where you can call them after class is over if there's something that you did not get. So there's a lot of support there to ensure your success.
Yeah, and I asked that because I'm thinking of the older career shift 40, 45, and maybe up who may say, I don't want to go back to school 3, 4 years. What way, how do I get into cybersecurity? And 6 months may be doable or realistic. So someone in their 40s where they can say, hey, I can commit 6 months, I can get this knowledge, I can come in entry level and work my way up and go as far as I can into this field.
Absolutely. And Google has a free cybersecurity certification. I think you can do it. I mean, it just depends on how well you capture the concepts. Probably in 2 or 3 months, you can complete that. That's a certification. ISC square, ISC2, in order filling this gap, is not their certification, but it's a certificate program, and it is $49. I know, yeah. And so those older people, and I do know people who are looking to get back in, that's what they're doing. They're getting trained up through certification programs versus going back to school. Here's what I would also recommend. If you are you're looking for that support, if you are going to an association, if you're going to those chapter meetings, oftentimes they provide a study group for these certifications.
Okay.
Kevin Foster on LinkedIn, his name is Kevin Foster. Every Sunday, he provides cybersecurity training to prepare you to sit for your certification. He's doing this for free.
I wrote that down so I can share that with my network.
Yes, Kevin. Hey, I just shared him with someone. Yeah, he's doing this all for free. So you want to find those people who are doing things for free, and often what they're doing is that they're reaching out to those people, those undeserved and marginalized people who oftentimes don't have the resources. But here's something that they can do as well is I talked about some of the associations to join. Most of these associations have a women's segment to that association. So that's another lane you can get that support. I also have, back in 2018, I created Women in Security Mentors, and that evolved out of I belong to a women in security organization within my city. And I knew that the girls in the inner city were falling behind. I told them, why don't we do an event for these girls in the inner city? And they said, sure, that's not our base. I pushed it again. They said, don't waste your time. It's a waste of my time. Do you see the thought on this? Because these were Black kids, they don't want to learn. That's not what they said. But they said,
wow.
That's a waste of. They said, we're doing this for you. And I really thought that they were. I said, don't waste your time.
Wow.
Going back, be the change that you want to see. And so I created Women in Security Mentors organization to introduce, but to mentor these young girls. And so that's what I was doing too. I would get me a venue. I would bring the students in. I'd tell them all about the career field. I would get other women from the industry, and these were diverse women, not all Black, and so that they could tell their stories and give advice. The same thing that I'm doing here. I do the swag bag, I get a sponsor. And if I couldn't get a sponsor, I spent my own money. I would take them to other companies to show them so that they could talk to other people. And I did this in 2018. But now I'm ready to grow, which is the reason why I hadn't mentioned this initially. There's another organization called WICIS, WICCYS, WICIS, Women in Cybersecurity. It is an international organization with chapters or affiliates across the United States. And I do know that they have chapters and affiliates in Australia as well as in Africa. I decided, Mustafa, I decided when I was looking to grow my Women in Security Mentors organization, I needed to do better with the mentoring, like I was doing it all. And so Women in Cybersecurity, they actually have a mentoring program. And since it's all online, they do the mentor match. They also have a cybersecurity training in which they have partnered with other organizations. When I am located in the greater Kansas City area, so we have Kansas and Missouri side.
Mhm.
I looked to see if there was an affiliate in my area. There's not an affiliate. So I submitted my application to start a WeSys affiliate that would service the Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri area, serving 14 counties. That's
Okay, come
huge. Okay, but in order to be a board member, you have to have 3 months as a member.
on.
I had the qualifications, but the women that I was reaching out to, they didn't. So they have until the end of December to meet the membership requirements. And then I'm retiring Women in Security Mentors, and I'm bringing up an affiliate. And anyone can join mine when I bring it up, or any other affiliate. They have a map there that you can look at to see if there is an affiliate in your area. And that's what they offer, the training, the mentoring. And then you have that whole network to ask a question about the industry. Oh, but here's something else that I did. I was local to the city. One more thing, they do an annual conference.
Okay, go ahead. We had a quick question. Someone asked which Kevin. They was asking further clarification on which Kevin Foster on our LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, one thing, he's black. I am logging into my LinkedIn. And I'm going to have you guys connect with someone else. His name is Romeo. He's
He asked a
another.
follow-up. He asked a follow-up question. Where is the Kevin Foster located? He said there are several Kevin Fosters.
Oh, I'm going into my LinkedIn and I'm gonna look him up. He's a director of cybersecurity. He is in Pennsylvania. Black guys wears glasses. And I am going to, am I able to put something in chat?
Okay, please.
Did he find him?
Were you able to find him?
I'm able to find, I was able to, oh, here we go. I just put his, did you see that? I just put it in the private chat, his link.
It didn't pop up on my end, but the person responded, thanks. So I think they may have found him.
Yeah, it's Kevin J. Juliet, Kevin J. Foster Sr. Also, have them look up Romeo, ROMEO Gardner, GARDNER, He's another Black guy, sharp guy. I met him. We were both teaching, and he was one of the professors too, but he was teaching at another university. Connect with him as well. This guy has the knack, he's low cost, no cost mindset. And that's
Okay.
his thing, low cost, no cost. And he's telling you how to get trained up. And then when he talks about an issue, he can break it down for you, for the executive, the entry level person, or the professional person to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be because he is an instructor. He's an instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and he taught all the cybersecurity courses, from security to networks and understanding routers and Romeo Gardner. And let me know if he found him.
Okay. To the person that's listening, were you able to find Romeo Gardner as well? Okay, he said he's already connected to Kevin.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's connected to Kevin. And then what about Romeo?
What about Romeo Gardner?
Gardner. And it was Kevin for his Sunday training to prepare you to sit for certification. And then Kevin just throws out some gems on recommendations on what certifications to get and where to go get them and how much this is going to cost. And
Okay, he said he just connected to Romeo as well, so he's connected on both.
then have them connect with me as well. And this is
Okay.
where we network, right? So if you see me saying something and you see someone else that comments to me, look them up and say, oh, I'm gonna connect with this person. That's what we do because a good mentor will connect you to their network.
Yes.
So connect with me too, for your listeners, and then see who I'm connected to in the field.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, you kind of addressed it. I just want to go back just to make sure I got it. Because when I do the interviews, it's educational for me as well as I hope it is for the audience. So sometimes I'm asking questions just for my own personal curiosity that I want to know certain things. Um, it has you spoke on a little bit about how since the
Okay, it broke up. It froze.
exclusive and catch up, and then okay, we'll try it again. We were talking about the murder of George Floyd and how these companies have tried to be more inclusive and have tried to pour more money into bringing us into tech fields and into corporate America. Would you speak just a little bit more to that, if you will, just for the audience and for my own education?
Well,
If there's
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'll just speak, if you will, to maybe those changes that may have been before George Floyd, now post George Floyd murder.
Yeah, with the murder of George Floyd, it shined a spotlight on the lack of justice for blacks, right? The lack of justice. We had seen for years black men being murdered by police officers, and they got away with it. So it didn't shine that. It also shined a light onto the other injustices, social justice, criminal justice, in every facet. And so we begin to demand justice, not just in the courtroom, not with our law enforcement. We look across social justice with housing, with wealth, right? With wealth, with jobs, with education. And there was actually a committee in DC that looked across corporate America inside these companies and saw what we were out there marching for, was true, that there was a lack of Black and brown people with these well-paying jobs. And so what we saw, the aftermath of George Floyd, we saw the number of DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion officers that were hired by these companies, and we saw an increase in the number of marginalized and underserved people getting hired from those for those jobs. But I think some of the momentum that we've had, as with a lot of things, we had a good run with stuff.
Yeah.
We had a good run, but a lot of those DE&I positions have gone away. When companies now are looking at, we need to cut costs somewhere, it's usually DE&I. And we see the number, this is not me, or I think, this is what I think my eyes are telling me. You know how some people say, don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah.
But the numbers are telling us this. The DE&I jobs are being cut. We've also seen some DE&I officers were hired, but they were not given the money to do the job. It was a facade to say, this is what we're doing to correct these things, but they weren't giving them the money. Or the way that the programs were implemented, we still didn't see the change. What do you mean by that, Dr. Cooper? Well, companies are saying, we will hire Blacks if they hire, but they didn't even recruit. If they went back and looked at who was applying, they would have seen it was all white people. That would tell a company, you're not recruiting in the right place. If all your applicants were white, no Blacks applied, look at your recruitment process, not who applied. So that's where we did see more diversity officers going back to that belongingness, right? We were not getting the same opportunities as white men and white women in the workplace. So you've seen more Blacks being promoted into management. You saw more Blacks promoted into executive positions, but still you only see Blacks represented at that CEO level around 3%. See, so there's still a long way to do. I mean, there was such a gap. There was so much work to do. We saw some progress with the aftermath of George Floyd, but there was so much work to do, and there's still work to do. And oftentimes, now this is my own perspective, I believe with the Black woman and the Black man, if they are promoted and placed in that position to show, see, we value diversity, they are not given the support to succeed, and that individual fails.
Set up to fail.
Mm-hmm. What we have often called for the woman, the glass cliff. And this happened, if you guys look it up, with J.C. Penney's. J.C. was already in chaos, closing stores, losing customers. They hired a woman CEO. We call it the glass cliff, but they continued to close stores, and then they fired her. But see, they were already in chaos. They said she was already going to fail. And we see that happening with the Black woman and the Black man. So, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer to close the race and gender gap? Well, I believe the first thing that we have to do, we've got to incite our youth to be interested in these jobs. So if you don't live in that community, you need to go in that community and start mentoring and supporting. We need to also motivate and inspire those Black and brown people who have made it to come back and get someone from your neighborhood. what we're also seeing is that a lot of Black and brown people who do make it, they don't come back to those young children. That's where they're going to get the mentoring, and they are going to be the ally, right? Well, mentoring can give me resources, tell me what I need to do, what education I need to get, what certification. I need an ally, a sponsor to give me a job. That's the power of the ally, is to get you the job. The power of the ally is to say your name in those rooms that you want to go in, and you need both of those. And that's going to take some time. And here's something that I learned too. Not that I learned, I think for me, it was just obvious. It's going to take a long time to close this racial gender gap, because you can't bring a woman in at the junior level and in 2 years, senior vice president. It's something about, you have to go through these steps. You have to mature into that position, and it comes with experience. And that could sometimes take 10 years, and we don't have it. That's where we need the mentor and the ally to support that individual while they're catching up, because of the lack of equity that we've lost through you not promoting the underserved.
Wow. Thank you so much for just really explaining all of that. And the beautiful thing about modern technology is that these questions are not, these answers are not just for today, that someone can pull this interview up and get that direction to know which way to go. So it was so vitally important for me to have you on there, so that our community could just see a person in a position of yourself, that this is not a person that just started doing this 6 months ago or 2 years or 3 years. This is a 20-year vet in this field, giving us free game, if you will, giving us jewels and gems and information. So I'm personally appreciated, because if you see me nodding, I'm taking it all in. This is classroom to me. I'm being educated. The audience is being educated. So I'm just greatly appreciate it yourself, and even to going over the hour, that we're still having a great conversation. Great conversation. We've transcended interview a long time ago. We just talking now. We dropping information now. This two old friends talking right here, and I love it.
You know what? But you can see that this is my passion. And oftentimes, what is our passion is because we've experienced it. And I've experienced not having that mentor, not having that ally, doing it on my own. Nobody dropping gems for me. Yeah, so I want to go back and get the little girl that was me and help her. And that's the reason why I know we're gonna wrap here. I ended up writing this book, Hood to Hooded, and this is actually my memoir. That when I set out to write it, I didn't set out to write a memoir because of past. I made lots of decisions that were not in my best interest. Like I said, I came out of the hood with crime and drugs. How it started, it was during COVID. And even before COVID, I was mentoring young girls and those looking to transition into cybersecurity. Well, the world closed down. I couldn't get to my base. So I said, I'm going to write a book, tell my story, not my story back there, but my story as a professional. And I had 3 other women who were going to tell their stories. Well, I said, I've written a dissertation, but I've never written a book. I'm going to get a writing coach. And I did, sent my manuscript over. And she said, listen to me, hear me out. She said, this is 2 books. And she said, you need to tell your story first. She said, because your reader, those young girls, they don't care about that DR in front of your name. They want to know how you did it. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to, tell all my business. I wanted you to see what we talked about today. Veteran, well put together, accomplished woman. And she said, you just don't know how many people that you're going to help. And so I prayed on it, and I wrote my memoir, coming out of the hood to walking across that stage and getting hooded. And I talk about the lessons that I learned. And we talked here about voice, but one of the things I also talk about in my book is that when we consistently suppress our intuitive knowingness about our greatness, and instead we look to others to, to validate us, to approve us, at that moment, we instantly give our power away. And we as individuals, we need to not suppress that greatness inside of us, trying to fit into something that someone else is trying to make us out to be. So when I did that, I lost my confidence. That happened to me. I tell the story as a 5-year-old little girl in my brown skin and my kinky hair at that time, how I felt invisible. And that went through, even through to my adulthood, and where I had lost my confidence. I thought I was ugly. And because I looked for others to validate me.
Come on.
But you know what? I am no longer that 5-year-old little girl that feels invisible. So my book is available on Amazon, and if you buy it, would love if you could leave some comments.
Someone said your book is a movie.
Uh, I really do. I speak. I actually do a keynote around my book, around my story. Oh, it was really to write it to inspire someone else, and maybe to have an impact. And I will have to say this: I got my first standing ovation last month.
Go ahead. Go ahead. There
Believe
you
it?
go.
Oh man, you just talk about it right here. To know that it touched someone, and that was the whole purpose. I used to say, okay, Diana Ross, she played um, Lady Sing the Blues, wasn't it? That she
Yeah.
knew that she had made it when she sung at Carnegie Hall. Remember, because Carnegie Hall, Black folks weren't allowed to sing there. So I've
Yes.
been speaking for some time, and I always said, how do I know I made it? Like Lady Sings the Blues, she knew she made it when she could sing in Carnegie Hall. That day, I'm like, what's my arena? What is that? And I just couldn't figure it out until that day. And I said, my Carnegie Hall is to be able to inspire, motivate, or touch someone else, or touch or change someone's life. It's not a place, it's in here.
Come on. And the passion and the realness coming through you. Somebody is hearing this. This is medicine for somebody's soul, and inspiration and guidance. Because the book, From Hood to Hooded, that you're saying that I had to start from the bottom and I had to grind my way up. As the coach said, that is inspiration for every young girl who may be in her own hood like condition, and
Mhm.
maybe thinking that that's the only reality because that's all she sees. She don't see no other reality outside of that. She may not see the upper echelons that she can grow to and that she can be a Dr. Cheryl Cooper. She can be PhD. She can be educational excellence. But when you say from hood to hooded, then that gives them hope that this is not the only reality. I can bust out of this reality and go up, up, up the ladder of educational excellence, and I can become a giant within my own field, whether I do cybersecurity or elsewhere. But this it. There's a way out of this. So that book that you have produced, that it's going to be life changing to some young girl out there who just looking for, how do I get out of this? Who can I look to that has done it, has got out of this situation? You did. You did it. You
Thank
did it.
you.
And thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
that testimony with us. That wow, wow,
And I know we have to wrap up here.
yeah,
But I share this. I share my story too, going back to that being authentic. That we all go through something in life, but through the power of choice, and that's my book. Through the power of choice, you always have a choice to get it right, to change course, to wake up the next day and say, I choose something different. And so I let these girls know that I'm not that perfect person. And so after I was done speaking, they're eating lunch and we're just walking up. One of the girls came up to me and said that she's got a friend that's doing drugs. She's been talking to her, and but the girl keeps doing drugs. She said, I don't know what to say to her to get her to stop it. And she wanted to know what I had to say. And I told her that I had to reflect on my own. I could only reflect on my own experience because I'm not a counselor. And I said, well, one thing you don't want to do is nag at her because she will distance herself from you.
correct.
I said, but you need to let her know that you're doing it because you love her and let her know that it's coming from a place of love.
Yes,
Sometimes I told her, we have to love someone else until they can love themselves.
correct.
Yeah. And so she said, okay. And that just made me feel good. It wasn't even about technology that day. She looked at
Right.
me and she trusted to ask me, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So
Well,
it's just those little things that give you that fuel just to keep going.
yes. Yes. Yes.
To the
Yes.
mentor, back to the mentor,
Yep.
which oftentimes, and I'm saying I'm not saying everyone doesn't need mentors, but what I'm saying is that that's where our greatest pain it is in the black man and the black woman, the black man and the black and brown man and the black and brown woman is where our greatest pain is, and
Yes.
that's the reason why I stress this importance of mentoring.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Well, as we get ready to land the plane, it's been so many good points. I'm going to listen to this again myself over the week. Just enjoy and learn. And I just want to thank you again for accepting the invitation and
You're
deciding
welcome.
to come on the Mustafa Talks Tech Show. I thought we was gonna bank it about an hour or less, but this has just been just so good that the time it hasn't been like, man, it's been this long. It's just seems like just time is going by quick and it's enjoyable every moment. And from the comments that I'm getting and people are texting me on the phone, the audience is enjoying it. They're engaged and learning and really enjoying your energy. So thank you again. I'm going to give you the floor to close out. Is there anything that you want to say that I did, or something that you want to leave the audience thinking on, or just the floor is yours?
Well, the first thing I want to say is just thank you so much for having me. I am humbled to be here. I want to thank all the listeners that took time out of their precious day to come spend the evening with us. In reference to technology and cybersecurity, the jobs are abundant. And there will be new jobs, as we talked about this evening, with new technology, with robots, with quantum computing, and with artificial intelligence. So I hope that you do seek out these jobs because in order for us to be great as a country, we have to have the opinion from all, not just some. Get yourself a mentor. And I'm going to close this out with you because we all have hardships in life, and that maybe you cannot control all the events that happen to you in your life, but we have the power to decide how they will define us. And so thank you again.
Thank you. Well, with that, we will close out this interview slash discussion slash classroom with our amazing guest, Dr. Cheryl Cooper. Um, if you are on LinkedIn and you're not connected to her by chance, please look up Dr. Cheryl Cooper, connect with her, follow her, keep up with the information. I've been connected with her for a few months. She's always putting some informative information. She writes informative information, and it's just been a thrill to be connected with her. And I highly encourage you to connect with Dr. Cheryl Cooper on LinkedIn. And with that, we're going to close out this interview. Thank you. Thank you to the audience. And we'll see you again on another episode of Mustafa Talks Tech. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.